At the start of the 15th century, Italy was a patchwork of political powers. In the north, communes had evolved into lordships and then into principalities during the 14th century. Alongside these, there were oligarchic republics like Venice, Genoa, and Florence. Over time, some cities grew into regional states, such as Milan, Venice, and Florence, as well as the Papal States and the kingdoms of Naples and Sicily. But how did the communes turn into lordships? Well, communes were originally forms of self-government that gained independence from the emperor in the 11th century. However, by the 14th century, internal divisions made governing chaotic. The wealthy bourgeoisie, popolo grasso, the poor, popolo minuto, and the nobles, magnati, all vied for power. Add to that constant wars between communes and the devastation of plagues and famines, and stability became a top priority. People started handing over power to a single ruler, a signore. Sometimes this was done peacefully, but other times rulers seized power by force. Once in control, these lords sought legitimacy, not just from the people, but also from the Pope and the Emperor, often gaining noble titles like Duke or Marquis. They governed with local militias and hired mercenaries, the famous condottieri. But they weren't just about warfare, they were also patrons of the arts. To boost their prestige, they surrounded themselves with artists and scholars, setting the stage for the Renaissance. During this period, some principalities, like Milan, and republics, like Venice and Florence, grew into regional states. In Milan, the Visconti family brought peace in 1278 after decades of Guelph and Ghibelline clashes. Gian Galeazzo Visconti, who became lord in 1378, turned Milan into a powerhouse, expanding its territory into Tuscany and Veneto. By 1395, he was named Duke of Milan by the emperor, but after his death in 1402, Milan's borders shrank to Lombardy. Later, in the 15th century, the Sforza family took over, steering Milan into a new era. Venice, meanwhile, was on its own path. In 1297, the Serrata del Maggior Concilio made political power hereditary among Venice's noble families. This council elected the Doge, Venice's leader. In 1310, the Council of Ten was created, giving even more control to the city's elite. By the end of the 14th century, Venice had defeated Genoa and dominated the Adriatic. In the 15th century, it expanded its territories in Veneto and the Balkans, securing key trade routes and agreements. One of the biggest turning points in this period came in 1454 with the Peace of Lodi. This treaty, signed by major Italian states like Milan, Venice, and Florence, brought decades of relative peace. The goal? To maintain balance and protect against external threats like the Ottoman Empire, which had just conquered Constantinople in 1453. Now let's talk about Florence, the city of the Medici. By the late 14th century, Giovanni di Bicci de' Medici had turned his family's banking business into a European powerhouse by managing the Pope's finances. His son Cosimo expanded their influence, becoming a patron of the arts and solidifying the family's power. When Cosimo's grandson, Lorenzo the Magnificent, took over, Florence reached its cultural peak. Lorenzo supported artists like Botticelli and Leonardo da Vinci, and thinkers like Machiavelli and Pico della Mirandola. He also strengthened ties with the papacy, so much so that his son Giovanni became a cardinal. Lorenzo's rule wasn't without challenges. The Pazzi conspiracy, which resulted in the murder of his brother Giuliano, pushed Lorenzo to consolidate power further. He reduced the influence of Republican institutions and introduced a loyal Council of 70. But through it all, Lorenzo ensured Florence remained a cultural and political powerhouse, and his efforts helped maintain the Peace of Lodi. This era of Italian history, marked by political intrigue, cultural brilliance, and fierce rivalries, set the stage for the Renaissance, a period that would change the world forever.